Hi guys, my name is Chris, and we're gonna do another anime debate. But this week we're gonna do something a little bit different once again. Another anime debate topic because I need more time to watch more anime, so these help me fill out the space. This is gonna be Dragon Ball Super, so far, versus Dragon Ball Z. Now, do I need to give you guys a story breakdown for this? I don't know. I feel like most of you guys know the story between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Z is basically the series where Goku goes on a journey. He fights some more. He makes friends along the way. He keeps fighting. He gets new power levels. He gets stronger as it goes on. And it's insane, awesome shonen action with a little bit of comedy in between. Now, Dragon Ball Super is a continuation of that same story, but now there are like intergalactic gods. And there's also an element now where Goku himself can become a god. There's also an element where they're doing a lot more comedy in this series. Like it's a lot more comedy. Takes it back to the actual original series that predated even Dragon Ball Z, called Dragon Ball, where it was like really good action, but really good comedy too. And this one brings it back to those comedy roots a lot. Even during the fighting scenes, there's still a lot of really good comedy here. And so, to just kind of compare the two, again, the series only has 10 episodes so far, whereas Dragon Ball Z has hundreds of episodes, so it's really unfair to compare these two right now, but I had an overall idea that I thought would bring us together. So far, the consensus with most people for Dragon Ball Super has been it doesn't have enough action, right? There's not a lot happening. It's all filler, blah, 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 blah. And my overall argument against that is, it's not filler. All this means something. It's building towards a bigger picture. It's just taking its time to get there, because guess what? That's what Dragon Ball did, the original series. That's what Dragon Ball did. Dragon Ball built towards the action, and when it finally got there, it was incredible. It even, in my opinion, beats out the action that was actually featured in Dragon Ball Z. Also, to be fair, Dragon Ball Z also pads its action. I think people have nostalgia brain with Dragon Ball Z. They keep forgetting that there were episodes where we were all frustrated where it was nothing but grunting for like 3 episodes straight. Nothing happened. The fact that Dragon Ball Super is being entertaining and being funny should tell you something. Dragon Ball Super is letting you know we're not going to pad this out. When we have fights, the fights are going to freaking happen, and it's going to be awesome. There's already been a couple fights so far. Not going to spoil anything for anybody. I don't want anybody to come in and go, oh no, Dragon Ball Super, I haven't seen that yet. No! Don't worry, guys, no spoilers. But there've been a couple fights. The fights have been good, but they've also been a little bit lighthearted because there are no stakes yet. There's there's nothing really there to be like, oh my god, we're all gonna die. It's all over. Like it's not there yet. Okay, so the fights right now is just seeing like the potential of the fighters, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. People want it to start out full on right away like Dragon Ball Z did with, and I'll spoil this. This is Dragon Ball Z. If you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z by now, what are you doing? Dragon Ball Z starts out basically like with the first arc with Goku dying and then going to heaven, and then cool things happen along this way before he comes back to life. That's just what happens. And so people are like, oh my gosh, I really want that. I want that thing where it starts out right away and everything, boom, 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 fight, right? That's cool and everything, but as a continuation series, we'd be wasting our time just to repeat the same patterns we've already seen before in a previous Dragon Ball series. Let's see something new, and that's what they're doing. Even this last episode 10, they made sure that even during the fight, which again was a really good fight in my opinion, it was great to me, they still took time to have fun with it and actually make it entertaining. Now in the movie, The Resurrection of F, which is the resurrection of Frieza, they made a really good point to have really good action. The action was awesome, right? But also really, really funny stuff in between. I think this is going to be the new style for this series, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The fact is, that was probably some of the best action I've ever seen in a Dragon Ball fight ever. Ever. And that's produced by the same team that's making Super. So that tells us they haven't lost their way. They're just building up to something better, as I said earlier. Now, as far as the animation comparison goes, let's say because Dragon Ball Z is roughly 30 years old, it's old as crap. It's not really 30, it's old as crap though. It's almost as old as I am, you know? It's gonna look dated in comparison, but I feel like the animation was more consistent even in that old series. So it's gonna win for me for animation, to be completely fair, because Dragon Ball Super has had some really crisp, really clean, really fluid animation. I think it's more digital than like hand-drawn, I'm pretty sure. But it's clean, but that episode 5 though, that was awful. How in this day and age do you make freaking animation that bad? Like, you know how like if you look in between scenes of certain anime, there's derpy faces? This had less derpy faces and just more like no faces. It was just, what? What did you do? And it's visible too, like all the fans could clearly see it, that it was bad. That's bad. No one's like freeze from me and go, hey, that part sucks. No, it was consistently really awful. And I don't know what happened. Did you like send it to the wrong animation house or what? But it was just weird, okay? Also, in Dragon Ball Super, there's some weird things sometimes where like the characters get really close up and there's this really dark defining line over like a hand or something for no reason. It doesn't even make any sense. Like it's not even. But it's still fluidly pretty, but it's just not consistent. So Dragon Ball Z is gonna win for animation, and that's not even a so far thing. That's just what it is, you know. Also, Dragon Ball Z did evolve over time, where animation grew and got different and became better. So it's possible that they'll do that with Dragon Ball Super later. But right now, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. We're doing the so far review. So, what potential did you see in Dragon Ball Z? You didn't really see potential. You just saw what they gave you. In this, there's so much potential being built that you have to believe that the writers are making a very strong point here to not only give us action, but give us true entertainment. Like Dragon Ball, the first series where Goku was a little kid, had the best storyline of these 3 series so far. And they made it a point to not only give us this action, they gave us a journey. They gave us an experience. And again, Dragon Ball Super is attempting to recapture that, and they're doing a bang-up job at it. The only reason why people think that it's filler is because they're used to the madcap, nothing but action, dialogue, exposition from Dragon Ball Z. They're forgetting that other anime exists that don't do that. They have other things they build towards. Again, I've akin this before, but I will say that Dragon Ball Super is closer to me to Fairy Tail, which does a good job telling the story and a good job of like putting together plot and everything in between than it is actually Dragon Ball Z. Music. The music is pretty much the same because it's a continuation series, so it's not really fair to compare those two. But I thought it'd be something fun to do, so let's compare them. No, I'm just kidding. We're not really gonna do that. So it's a tie, obviously. I don't think there's a lot more to really compare here. I just kind of want to get you guys thinking and talking about this down below. I think that as an overall series, we can't really have a conclusive answer right now. I have a feeling, this was my intuition, that Dragon Ball Super will actually come out being the better series, but the villains won't be as memorable because I feel like the stakes are not as high because, once again, we're going to go to other universes that aren't our universe, and maybe the thing that'll be in trouble is like another planet, but not so much Earth. I feel like we've done the thing already way too many times where the universe is in danger, and I think with all the gods and everything going on, they're not going to allow the universe to actually be in danger. They're going to talk about it, but we all know that they're not going to destroy the entire universe, especially with that element they brought in to Dragon Ball the Z, the movie, the Resurrection of F, which is not a spoiler because you're not going to see the movie, you're not going to see the movie, but they brought in an element where Wiz has the ability to dial back time by a couple of seconds. So because that exists, that tells me that the stakes won't be as high, you know? They just won't be. But there's going to be some really fun stuff here. It's going to be something really enjoyable. There's going to be at least 100 episodes of amazingness. And once it gets going, you're going to get punched in the face. And you won't be able to taste your own breath. Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite anime of all time because I just like to sometimes turn my brain off and having a really good time and laughing and fighting and just getting really drawn into the action, you know? And so because of that, both these shows deserve to be given as much respect as possible. So ultimately, I'm going to say that if I'm going to just use a future brain that doesn't exist yet, but a future brain, I'm going to say that Dragon Ball Super is the superior series, but it won't be the superior shonen series because shonen is all about the fighting. This is where all shonen, I think all shonen does. All shonen eventually de-evolved into just nothing but fighting, right? And everybody goes like, when it started, it was awesome and it was really intriguing, but now it's just fight. I think that happens to almost every shonen. And so I think that as shonen go, Dragon Ball Z will always be immortal. Dragon Ball Super will surpass it in quality, but it'll just take some time. And people need to be patient and be okay with that. But what do you guys think? How do you feel about Dragon Ball Super so far? And what do you guys think about Dragon Ball Z overall? Like, how do you feel about the series? Like, a lot of people like give it crap as like not even really being a true anime series because it's so popular. Right? I know it sounds so stupid, but that's just what I've heard before. So let's just get into it. Let's have a full-out blast on debate. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday for another anime debate. Monday for Inner Motivation. And tomorrow for something weird. Apple, use teleport. I farted. Yeah, I teleported and I farted. That was embarrassing. Thank you guys so much. Recently, I just hit 50,000 subscribers. I made a video about that. I'll put it up here. Go check that out. And thanks a lot, guys. Later.